What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA. So yeah, Star Wars Theory posted this video in regards to Leslye Headland and some commentary that she had about George Lucas. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
This is like what we understand to be Star Wars, like the idea that like that only came from George Lucas, that only George Lucas holds the key for what we understand to be Star Wars is just untrue. And I think the prequels are an excellent example of that. I mean, the idea that like when you're hiring a director, that everyone is sitting in there waiting for George Lucas and not for the person who's going to know to hire Ralph McQuarrie, that's the problem. That's the misogyny and the problem with the auteur myth as it stands today, because they're not thinking this is the person that will hire the right people and this is the person that will be able to create the lookbooks and direct people to get them to that place. They're just thinking, do you have all the answers? And the truth is that nobody does, and anybody that says they do is lying.
Do you see why I say you gotta fire everybody at Lucasfilm? Not just Kathleen, not even just this chick. This is rot. This is infection. This is cancer. It permeates the entire company. You cannot fix this. You have to burn it with fire and just completely rebuild it. This is a chick who has never created anything on the level of what George Lucas created. A universe that's loved by millions and millions and millions of people all over the world. One of the greatest, most influential franchises that has ever existed. But she's going to tell us how it's done. Movies, TV shows, novels, toys, video games. Disney spent $4 billion to buy what George created. How much did they spend on your shit? I mean, think about what she's saying. This is a chick that's playing in the playground of a greater creator, something that a man built, something that millions of people all over the world absolutely adore. And she has the nerve to complain that the monkey bars are too high. How about this? Build something of your own, Leslye Headland, and stay over there. You don't have to be over here at Star Wars. Go build your own thing. But look, let's go ahead and take her little points, her little bullshit points, one by one.
This is like what we understand to be Star Wars, like the idea that like that only came from George Lucas, that only George Lucas holds the key for what we understand to be Star Wars is just untrue.
Do y'all hear this, dummy? Yeah, are y'all listening to this moron talk? Yes, idiot. George Lucas holds the key. He is the visionary. This is literally his creation that came up in his mind. Not yours, not anybody else's. This is George's creation. And look, I understand where she's coming from, because she's saying, well, she's probably saying there's been a lot of people that have, thrown in their input on what they think Star Wars is, or how George can best kind of shape the story world of Star Wars. Let me address that real fast. There is a myth about this creation process that when it comes to making something like Star Wars, that you need like some sort of a grand design by multiple collaborators. In reality, this is all George Lucas's vision. And you need a single-minded vision in order to guide a giant franchise like this. You can't have a whole bunch of different voices that are making their own version of Star Wars. We saw what happened with the sequel trilogy. There was no like unified kind of direction. Okay, here's where we're going. This is what we're doing. They had people just kind of all over the place doing their own thing. They're all in business for themselves. And that's the problem when you have too many collaborators, too many chiefs and not enough Indians, or whatever the situation is. When you have multiple people doing the same job of creator, visionary, that's what happens. And that's what happened with this particular franchise. This thing has gone completely off the rails because, we got to listen to all of these various different voices. And there's not one guy like George Lucas that has a say-so over the whole thing. Look, don't get me wrong. You can have people throwing in their input. Hey, George, I think this character would work in the Star Wars universe. I think this planet and this type of environment would work. Or I think that you should do this particular type of a storyline. Or maybe this starship. This would look really cool. Whatever the case may be. You can put all of that into Star Wars. But it has to fit within one vision. If it's outside of that vision, nah, we're not doing it. So a guy could come up and say, hey, George, I think this would work. George be like, nah. Another person could come up and say, hey, George, why don't we try this? And no, that ain't gonna work. And then somebody else comes up with something. He's like, yeah, that works. That's perfect. Yeah. Again, that's what you got to do when it comes to a large franchise like Star Wars.
And I think the prequels are an excellent example of that. I mean, the idea.
And then she goes out and shits all over the prequels, right? She's out here shitting on the prequels. Look, in my opinion, the prequels were kind of a unique issue because George had the vision in place, but he wanted to write and direct everything, and writing and directing has never been George's strong suit. So, yeah, he probably should have handed that work off to other people, collaborators, who could also then help him with his input, but overall, his vision remains the same. This is where George should have just said, you know what, I'm the architect. All right, I'm the guy that designed the building. I'm stepping back. I'm letting the foreman go out there and create the thing. I'm letting the interior decorator decorate it, or whatever the case. The vision of the prequels is solid. It's a good story. It's a very good story, but it's the execution is clumsy at times. I don't think anybody disagrees with that, you know? And she gets into this later because she started talking about the auteur's myth, and I'll get to that. But this idea that the prequels prove anything about what she's talking about, it just proves that the writing and directing weren't George's strong suit. That's all it proves. World building, characters, conceptual designs, the feel, the look, the emotional impact that every moment in the story will have, that overarching view of the whole franchise that lives inside George's head. That's what we want out of Star Wars. That's where George's value lies as the creators, not necessarily in the nuts and the bolts of it all.
The idea that, like, when you're hiring a director, that everyone is sitting in there waiting for George Lucas and not for the person who's going to know to hire Ralph McQuarrie, that's the problem.
Yes, dummy. We wait on George Lucas. We wait to see what the creator is going to think about this particular person, his universe that he created. And look, Ralph McQuarrie, phenomenal designer, phenomenal artist. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. Again, it's just like with writers and directors, everybody has their own interpretation. That interpretation has to match with George's interpretation. Okay? The two have to match together. Otherwise, George is going to say, thank you for coming and we'll see you later. He's going to say, nah, that's not really what I'm looking for, but I appreciate it. It just so happens that Ralph McQuarrie came up with the designs that fit exactly what was living in George's head, and therefore we move forward with Ralph McQuarrie's designs. Everybody has their own personal interpretations, but it's the creator's vision, his opinion that matters, not yours and no one else's.
That's the misogyny and the problem with the auteur myth as it stands today, because they're not thinking this is the person that will hire the right people and this is the person that will be able to create the lookbooks and direct people to get them to that place. They're just thinking, do you have all the answers?
Yeah, look, yeah, the author has the answers, okay? The auteur has all the answers. And here's what's coming out. She doesn't like the gatekeeping. She doesn't like that everyone waits on George, looks to George for the answers to all of these problems. Well, yeah, too bad. George does have all the answers. You didn't build this universe, and you don't understand the entirety of what George Lucas wants for it. And look, George didn't create everything that's good in Star Wars. You can look at Grand Admiral Thrawn, right? Timothy Zahn created him, but Thrawn still had to pass through George Lucas. Thrawn had, does this character fit with my design, what I see this as this universe? Is this character, can he fit inside of this? Yeah, all right, let's go. Look, chick, it's not misogyny, okay? It's called talent. It's called ownership. When you have talent and you create something, you get to decide how this thing moves. Nothing is stopping this chick from going out there and creating her own universe, right? Her own thing that is just as beloved as something like Star Wars. Nothing is stopping her from doing that. You know, I wonder if there's a woman out there who did exactly what George Lucas did, who created her own universe, like full of characters that are loved the world over, you know, and built it into this giant industry with theme parks and movies and books and all kinds of stuff, video games. I wonder if there's ever been a woman, because, you know, it's the era of misogyny left and right as far as the eye can see. It's all about misogyny. No woman has a chance in this era of misogyny. I wonder if there has ever been a woman that has pulled off this incredible feat that could have never been done. I mean, you know, I would be interested to find out if there's ever been a woman like that. Oh, you can see Star Wars Theory actually followed up with this explanation of what the auteur's myth was. He says, what is the auteur theory? The auteur theory, which was derived largely from Astruc's elucidation of the concept of camera stylo, camera pen, holds that the director, who oversees all the audio and visual elements of the motion picture, is more to be considered the author of the movie than is the writer of the screenplay. This is 1000% true, okay? The script is just a script. Film is a audio-visual medium. There's no audio and visual jumping off of the script. It's just words on a piece of paper, right? So you need a director to kind of bring all of that and make it come to life. So I don't know what this chick is talking about. She doesn't sound like she's too bright. The auteur's myth, there's no myth. It's a reality. You hand a script to a director, you hand one script, the same script, to 10 different directors, you're going to get 10 different interpretations. Some will be better than others. That's just the way it is. And that's because the film that these directors are making are all based upon their vision. The vision is the most important thing when it comes to this. That's why I don't know why Lucasfilm is hiring people that think like this, but this chick is a stone cold idiot. There's no myth. It's the reality. The director is the overall author of a movie. And when you have a long-form story like Star Wars, where you got movies cross-sectioning with books and comic books and video games and all kinds of other stuff, you have lore in all kinds of different places, you need a single vision, dummy, to make sure that it all comes together. It doesn't conflict with each other. I mean, I don't understand this chick. This chick is an idiot.
They're just thinking, do you have all the answers? And the truth is that nobody does, and anybody that says they do is lying.
Yeah, chick, George has all the answers. He has every answer. And if he doesn't have them, he'll find them. But it's his creation. He knows what's best for this universe. You are just marching in his shadow. That's all you're doing. Imagine, like I showed you to JK, imagine this chick going up to JK Rowling and saying, you don't have all the answers to the Harry Potter universe. You have no idea what you're doing. You created it, sure. You made it what it is, sure. But you don't know what's best for it. That would be misogyny. That would be misogyny. Look, and you can tell how this chick talks. She's disrespectful to the maker. To me, that's unconscionable. Again, you got to burn it all down, folks. At this point, these are the people that they're hiring to make Star Wars content for you. You got to burn it down. She don't respect what the maker went through, and she doesn't expect him to have all the answers to his own creation. She don't believe in that. Unconscionable. Anyway, what do y'all think about this? You can tell I'm fired up. I'm just getting sick and tired of these cats. This chick is literally standing up here. Look at this. Standing in front of Star Wars Celebration signage. You didn't make this. You didn't make this. This thing was in Europe. This is biggest convention ever. And she's there and she's talking all of this shit about George Lucas. I can't believe it. It's just absolutely ridiculous. At some point in time, somebody's got to pull the plug on Lucasfilm, let this thing burn to the ground, and then rebuild it from the ashes. Anyway, folks, you guys go ahead, jump down in the comments, give me your thoughts and opinions on that. And thanks for watching. See you next time.